Hello everyone, this is Charles with CUESCREENS, bringing you a new product release for the Mazda CX-9. This is our upgraded replacement gel-free touchscreen for vehicles from 2016 through 2019. There were many of these cars sold, and they all have the same 8-inch touchscreen that sits on the dash. And of course, these touchscreens are very prone to a lot of problems, as we're going to see here. Alright, first off, we're going to see bubbling or peeling. This is called delamination, and Mazda refers to it as spider cracking or internal cracking. It's really a hideous appearance on the outside that we'll see, and that leads to touch response problems from unresponsive, frozen, randomly jumping around, or they call it ghost touching, where it's like a mind of its own. Those are all due to the touchscreen failing. That's it. And this is a really easy do-it-yourself replacement, as we're going to show you here. The reason why these are failing from the factory is this glue inside the screen. It dries out after a few years and causes delamination. And we'll see from our new upgraded design, it does not have that glue problem. It looks the same from the outside, so it's going to look 100% factory, but it just doesn't have that inside defect that causes the screens to go bad. Alright, now these are 100% failure rate, and if you look online on the forums, you're going to see a bunch of other owners that have the same problems. There was a recall from Mazda, but it was very limited to just a few vehicles on a certain VIN range. It's called the spider crack or internal crack recall. Now, if you're not covered under warranty or under the recall, it's a $1,500 repair, but where there's no reason to pay that much. We don't need to replace the entire display, just buy the new touchscreen. So we've got ours here. This is an improved design in many ways, and it's going to solve your issues. Our screen has an anti-glare properties, so it's going to be easy to see in direct sunlight. It's going to be really sharp, really clear, and it's going to have OE connector grade material, so it's not going to tear and rip like the cheaper replicas that you may find on eBay or whatnot. This is a superior product. So let's get into the do-it-yourself. You'll need just a few hand tools, a screwdriver, a Phillips head and flathead, a T8 Torx bit driver, our replacement screen found at CUESCREENS.com. And you'll want to give yourself about 30 minutes or so to do the installation. If you have a can of air duster and a nylon trim tool, that will help as well. Once again, you can place your order at CUESCREENS.com. Alright, first off, we're going to use a nylon trim tool to pop off a little cover that sits right behind the display. So reach in there, kind of pry under the cover, and it pops right off very easy. That's going to expose two 10mm bolts. So remove those two bolts from your dash and make sure you keep them, as we're going to reuse them later. Now, to get the display off the dash, you can use your nylon trim tool like in this photo, wedge it between the dash and the trim bezel and pop it upwards. It's just held in place with friction clips, and you can also kind of grab it and pull it upwards. It'll release with some force, but if you're having trouble using your nylon trim tool, it'll lift right up. Two connectors, squeeze the little tab on the connector and pull it away from the display, and it will release just like that. Now we want to separate the trim bezel from the display. Two Phillips head screwdrivers and that entire display will separate from that bezel piece. So now that the display is removed, you can bring it inside to a workbench or a table. Make sure you have a nice soft surface so it doesn't get scratched up. And we'll take a look at this customer's unit here. We've got the connectors removed, and you can see it has that terrible delamination bubbling appearance. So we're going to get that fixed up in less than 10 minutes here. So the first thing you want to make sure is you have a T8 Torx screwdriver. That's going to be used for the screws. A blue nylon trim tool. It's going to be helpful to pop off some pieces. A Phillips head screwdriver. The Mazda replacement screen from CUESCREENS. Again, watch out for the replicas. There's a lot of cheap stuff out there. It's all junk. It doesn't work. This is the only one that's going to actually fix the problem permanently. You can take a look at that nice high definition glass for your Mazda. A perfect factory match. We can see on the inside that we have that anti-glare bezel. Looks really nice. And then a metal spudger or a metal flathead screwdriver will be fine as well. So first things first, we're going to pop off this back plastic housing. You'll want to use your T8 bit driver to remove the screw that secures it. And make sure we keep all the screws together here. We don't want to lose any of them. So now that that screw is removed, you can use your blue nylon trim tool or similar and kind of wedge it underneath this bottom piece here. It'll lift up and release those two plastic tabs, and then it just kind of separates. Now we can see how this works here. It kind of has 5 or 6 slots at the top, and the housing has little tabs that kind of fit right into place there. So that'll be important later on when we reassemble this piece. All right, now we can use the T8 driver again to remove the 4 screws that secure the metal bracket to the LCD. All right, now with the screws removed, you can take this metal bracket off. It's held in place with 4 plastic locking tabs. They're just sort of wedges that hold. You can use a flathead screwdriver or metal tool and just kind of lever in there and pop the metal bracket away from those 4 locking tabs. Again, 2 on each side. They just kind of snap right into place. We can kind of see how the metal bracket fits over there. The screw holes line up, and then those locking tabs kind of secured in place. So now we'll have to lift off the metal shield. There's no screws here, no tabs or anything. It just lifts straight up, and that will expose your motherboard. Obviously, during these steps, you'll want to be careful. Don't cause any damage to the motherboard or the cables. It's kind of common sense, but just be aware that we don't want to damage anything. So now there are 3 ribbon cables that are going to this motherboard. So all 3 locks operate the same way. We'll get a nice up-close view here. And you can use a tool or your fingers, if you have pretty small hands, to kind of lever up on these black tabs. It just pops right up just like that. It flips upward at 90 degrees and exposes the ribbon cable. And then you can lift the ribbon cable up and out. You'll see it has 2 little locking ears on each side of the cable, and those kind of align it and secure it in the connector. So pop up, lift up on the ribbon cable. We'll get it up close here, and you can see those 2 tabs and the line that kind of shows you if your connector is in properly. So I just lift up and out, and that's it. And the final ribbon cable is a smaller one. This one has a nice horizontal white line that shows you if you've got it lined up right. Same thing, up and out. You can leave the connector locks in the open position, as they'll have to be open during reinstallation. All right, now there is a single Phillips head screw holding the motherboard to the LCD. So go ahead and remove that. Set that one aside, and then the motherboard just lifts straight off. Now we want to transfer the LCD over to the new touchscreen. So I try to kind of gently and evenly go around the LCD and just lift it up a little bit. Take it slow. Lever it away from the plastic housing. We're going to reuse this LCD, so we don't want to cause any damage to it. All right, now you can see up close your old touchscreen. It is definitely delaminated and completely unusable. We're going to get the new touchscreen and then reassemble everything. Once again, you can get those screens from CUESCREENS. So first off, we will remove the inner protective layer before installing that LCD, but we'll make sure that it's oriented with the ribbon cables towards the bottom towards you like you see in this photo. This is an optional step, but it's important if you want a perfect installation. Use a can of air duster to blast away any dust that might have appeared on the surface of the touchscreen or of the LCD. You want it to be dust-free before installing it, and then just press it right down there. I always like to check and make sure that there's no dust or debris trapped in the lens, as it'll be there forever, and now's the time to remove it if you do have that. So the LCD drops into the new touchscreen. We'll place the motherboard back on the back of the LCD. There's two little tabs that it kind of fits right into. And now we'll install the Phillips screw. Definitely don't over tighten this, just barely hand tight. We don't want to cause damage to the motherboard. It doesn't need to be really tight here. So now the ribbon cables are going back in their place. It's really the opposite of removal. I like to go in from the top and kind of lever under the black locking tab and then push it forward, and it'll lock into place here. We'll get a better view with the next ribbon cable. The concept is the same for all three. So you kind of wedge it under there, forward all the way in, make sure the line is there, make sure the ears are locked in place, and while you're holding it in, go ahead and lock down that ribbon cable. Nice and straight all the way across. And then finally the smaller one, make sure the connector is open, go forward, down, check the line to make sure it's lined up properly, and then lock down your cable. All right, good, moving on. Now the heat shield drops right into place over those two little metal tabs. And now the metal bracket also drops into place. Align up the holes for the screws and then push it down over those plastic tabs. It'll click right into place and hold it there for you before the screws get installed. So just kind of push it down, you'll feel it snap, and then we can continue on with the T8 screw installation. Again here, just hand tight, no need to go over tightening these. All right, now we want to put the plastic back on the new touchscreen bezel. So those slots on the very top, the alignment slots, we're gonna work on that first, and you'll want to drop those into place. Make sure you get all 6 lined up in the alignment slots nice and evenly so it has like a tight appearance. Otherwise there'll be gaps and it'll be loose there. And then once it's aligned, snap the bottom on and it'll be a perfect fit, totally secure. With the plastic backing in place, tighten the final T8 screw to secure the assembly. All right, and there we have the nice new screen ready to go. Looks perfect, fits perfect, and it's ready to reinstall to your vehicle. I hope you liked the video. You saved $1,300 for 10 minutes worth of work and no hassling or dealing with dealer appointments and visits and all that stuff. CUESCREENS.com to place your order. You can post a comment here if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.